For the past 3 months, soccer fans in the city of Cincinnati have proven their passion, flocking to Nippert Stadium and breaking league records. For the past 3 months, soccer fans in the city of Cincinnati have proven their passion, flocking to Nippert Stadium and breaking league records in the process. Tonight, the biggest soccer event in the city's history descends on this historic venue as English Premier League side Crystal Palace FC will counter John Harkes and his lads. It's a perfect night for the beautiful game and an international friendly. Good evening and welcome to Nippert Stadium on the campus of the University of Cincinnati, where here tonight we expect a capacity crowd of 35,061. Tom Gallagher happy to be alongside Belfast, Ireland native Kevin McCloskey as we get you set for this international friendly on a very large scale. A sold-out crowd, the community very excited about having an English Premier League side here in Crystal Palace, and you're part of that community. It feels like everybody's been buzzing for 2 months.
Absolutely. Since the announcement date, people have been very excited about it. And obviously the days leading up to today's game, you've seen it in the city. You've seen the color out there in the streets, in the shopping centres. So people are excited. They've seen USL, they've seen college before, but they've never seen the Premiership. So that's huge.
Well, the fans have responded. And Crystal Palace is here on a preseason tour, Kevin. What does that mean? Well, they're getting ready. Their regular season will start in 4 weeks. And for Alan Pardue, what does he want to see his guys accomplish?
The biggest thing is improving fitness. They're bringing 25 players over. So, every player is going to try to make their mark and try to impress the gaffer, as they call it, or their coach. And the biggest thing, he wants to get the team ready, prepared for when they go back to the Premiership, so they're ready to start.
Well, they played Wednesday night in Philadelphia, arrived here on Thursday. And for more on their experience and their training, we go to our counterpart from Crystal Palace, Chris Grierson.
Welcome to Cincinnati, and more specifically the training pitch for the Cincinnati Bengals NFL team, where the Palace players are going to be put through their paces in the scorching morning sunshine. Dan, tell us about what's been putting this game together.
It's been a lot of fun. I mean, the whole city's excited to have Crystal Palace here, and as a club, we're really excited to just have them in our city. So it's been a lot of work, but what we found has been excellent to work with Crystal Palace as a club. The guys that work at Palace behind the scenes have been outstanding. We've had really good communication over the last 2 or 3 months, and it's been great. And as you can see today, we've got a great partner in the Cincinnati Bengals, the NFL club, and they've allowed us to use their practice facility this morning, which is a beautiful grass surface that the guys are playing on today. So far it's been really great. In Cincinnati, there's been a few attempts over the years to have professional soccer, but we feel we came in as a club and as an organisation with the right financial backing, the right ownership group, the right leadership in the front office, and we were able to get John Harkes as our head coach, former US national team legend. We're third in the Eastern Conference in the USL, and we're getting fantastic crowds. At home, we're averaging around 17,000, and we feel for the game on Saturday against Crystal Palace, we're going to get maybe 35,000 potentially in the stadium. But Cincinnati's got a really good soccer heritage. There's a lot of Irish here, there's a lot of English, and there's a lot of German, so it's kind of got a European feel. So in the bars and pubs on a Saturday, in the mornings actually, people go there to watch have their breakfast and to watch Premier League. So I've been out many mornings watching Crystal Palace, and yeah, you know, you guys got a very good team, and everyone knows Crystal Palace here in Cincinnati.
Crystal Palace certainly excited to be here in the Queen City. When we return, the starting 11, a check-in from the pitch, and we get underway. This is FC Cincinnati Soccer.
I'm sorry, what? One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
Tom Glitter and Kevin McCloskey back with you at Nippert Stadium, where the seats are full and we are just about ready for football, as they call it in England. You see the tifo above the Bailey, showing John Harkes and Alan Pardue dancing. Tonight's starting lineups are brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey, the top Invisalign provider in the tri-state. First for FC Cincinnati, the starting 11. Well, John Harkes decided to go with guys who have played a lot, who have a lot of experience. And up top, Omar Cummings and Sean Coley give this club a chance for a quick start, Kevin.
Yeah, straight athleticism up top, obviously going into a 4-4-2. But with Sean and Omar, they're going to test their centre backs, you know, in behind and see if they're capable. Obviously, FC Cincinnati are in their pre-season part, so maybe some tired legs might get some opportunities from Omar and from Sean.
And the one Englishman, Paul Nicholson, starting for FC Cincinnati. Then when we look at Crystal Palace FC, a change in goalkeeper Alex McCarthy. Again, this is their preseason, so they're going to try some different things. McCarthy is in the starting lineup, starting in goal. And Wilfred Zaha, who had 34 appearances in the EPL last year, got to keep an eye on number 11 in blue and red.
Zaha, obviously a former player at Manchester United too, so he's going to be a massive threat. Big excitement, obviously, for the fans to watch him play. And it'll be exciting to see.
Well, tonight's sideline reports are brought to you by Joseph Toyota. Let's go down to our sideline reporter for the first time, Lindsay Patterson.
Guys, a little over 2 months ago, we found out Crystal Palace was going to come to Cincinnati when they arrived in the States. First stop, Philadelphia Union on Wednesday. Then Thursday, when they made their way to Cincinnati, they practiced over at the Bengals training camp facility on the practice fields. And they've said they were really thrilled to come to the United States, but really felt like it was special to come to Cincinnati. There's not a lot of times where you see a USL team more excited than an MLS team. So two eager, excited guys down here tonight.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. We'll be checking in throughout the evening with Lindsay Patterson. Both teams have taken the pitch. Their managers, well, they know a lot about each other. Of course, John Harkes, a U.S. Soccer Hall of Famer and the first American to play in the Premiership. So Alan Pardue, familiar with what he did. Mark Bright is part of the staff at Crystal Palace. Alan Pardue, however, is the manager. And Alan Pardue, now in his second season, he took over January 3rd, 2015, and he played for Crystal Palace. Tonight, keys to the match are presented by the Levy Law Offices, where they turn your crash into cash, and it's pretty simple tonight, Kevin.
I think for the FC Cincinnati players, enjoying the moment. You know, they've as soon as this announcement's come out, they've been very excited. This is a big opportunity for them to go out. I think the second key, really, every one of these players has dreamed of playing against, you know, this competitor, you know, this level. So it's going to be an exciting night for those guys. Thrilled for them and thrilled for the fans.
Well, we are underway for the first time ever An English Premier League side plays in the city of Cincinnati in front of the largest soccer crowd ever in the state of Ohio. Thrilled to have you with us tonight as Crystal Palace with possession to start. They will set up in a 4-2-3-1 and play back to their goalkeeper, Alex McCarthy, a 6'4" native of England. Jordan Much picked it up in the midfield. You saw a little pressure there from Paul Nicholson. I mentioned when we went through the starters, Nicholson the only Englishman on FC Cincinnati's roster, and you know that it's a dream come true for him to start today, Kevin.
Absolutely. He's been watching these guys play in the Premiership and obviously in the English leagues since he's grown up. So I know Paul's a big Manchester United fan, so he's probably going to go after these guys a little bit and try to make his mark. So
Kenny Walker touching it forward. Nicholson moving up into the midfield because Austin Berry starting at center back, where Nicholson was inserted into the starting 11 to replace Berry when he got injured at the end of April. Pat McMahon getting set to throw it in near side touchline for FC Cincinnati, and I feel right off the start of this match you can see the size and the speed that Palace brings to the pitch.
Athleticism, you know, for every contested ball and every transition play, you're going to see that speed and that power and that strength.
Throwing from McMahon does not reach. Sean Okoli, FC Cincinnati's leading scorer in USL action with 8 goals on the year. Ball played forward to Fraser Campbell. Campbell starting at the striker position today. Had his run disrupted, but Palace picks it back up in the midfield. Now Chung Young Lee, member of South Korea's national team, known affectionately by his teammates as Chungy, sends it onto the far side.
I think you'll see here too a difference in approach. You know, FC Cincinnati are used to probably pressing. They may not press as much and give, you know, Crystal Palace that respect. So maybe they'll sit back, stay a little bit more organized in their 4-4-2 and their 2 blocks of 4, a block of 8. So it'll be interesting to see how this matchup continues.
Good defense from Paul Nicholson to stop the run in the offensive third for Palace. Sent back out across midfield. We've seen but maybe one opportunity into the offensive third for FC Cincinnati tonight. If you're wondering why FC Cincinnati is wearing white tonight, yes, those are traditionally their road kits, wearing white with just the orange stripe across the front, but it gives Crystal Palace the opportunity to wear their blue and red vertically striped home kits. So rather than being their yellow road kits, they are the road team, of course, today here in Cincinnati, but wearing their home kits. So a show of respect from FC Cincinnati for the visitors. Wilfred Zaha working just outside the 18, leaves it for Chung Young Lee. It's deflected in the direction of Mitch Hildebrandt, trying to track it down. Fraser Campbell was there, did not touch it, let it roll out. It'll be a corner kick coming. Brandon Artis, our match official tonight, assigned by the U.S. Soccer Federation. He is an official that FC Cincinnati sees quite often during the regular season. I know notably he has been the match official for both matchups against Louisville City this season.
I think Crystal Palace here are going to test FC Cincinnati straight away with the set piece. I think they're probably going to whip this in, and obviously, you know, Mitch has already been tested, so they're going to see how the goalkeeper fares with pressure, how the back 4 fares with pressure, and kind of, you know, take it to them.
Austin Berry headed it away. That corner kick was brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey. Palace going to keep the possession, working towards the end line. Zaha into the middle. Knocked away, picked up by Damian Delaney. Delaney actually took a knock in the match at Philadelphia on Wednesday. There was some question whether or not he'd be able to go. Wiedemann into the middle, finds Ugo, comes out to McLaughlin. Can he get a shot off? Jimmy at the top of the 18, leaves it for Paul Nicholson. Nicholson wanting to let it rip. He will with his left foot. And wouldn't that have been a special moment? The save is made by Alex McCarthy. He knocks it over, but the Englishman getting down, getting it to his left foot and letting one fly.
Great counter-attack stuff here. Wiedemann gets the ball on the right-hand side, feeds it in. Jimmy does a good job of laying back into Paul, and then Paul does well, you know, hitting on target with his weaker foot. Great transition.
McCarthy challenged in the 5th minute, makes his first save of the night. Tyler Pollock will come over and take the corner kick, which is brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey, the top Invisalign provider in the tri-state. Pollock going to play it short. Nicholson flicks it on off the head of Cummings, and then Berry trying to get a piece of it, playing forward from his center back position. Can't get enough, it goes wide. So a good opportunity in the early going, and I think that John Harkes today, in putting this unit out together, guys with a lot of experience felt like this gave him the best shot for a quick start against a very talented Crystal Palace side.
As you said, yeah, experience. I think looking at that starting 4-4-2, every single player has been around for a little bit. You know, they've played in big games for the respective levels. They're going to be hungry too. You know, obviously they're going to give Crystal Palace a lot of respect, but you saw with the intent of that last, you know, counter-attack in that transition, they're going to try to sneak something. They're going to try to create opportunities and try to get on the scoreboard.
Wilfred Zaha nearly got around Pat McMahon. His run was slowed just a hair. Now he crosses it to Jordan Much.
I think what you're going to see too, Zaha is obviously going to try to isolate a player, beat him 1 versus 1. The key for Cincinnati today is can they pick up the running players into the box, right? There's been 2 or 3 services or crosses that have come in. 3 Crystal Palace players against one FC Cincinnati player. So that's going to be a massive matchup if they can.
Scoreless in the 7th minute at Nippert Stadium, an international friendly between FC Cincinnati and Crystal Palace FC, and the house is packed. It sold out last night. I think the most impressive thing right now, every seat is filled. Not a late arriving crowd tonight. Zaha picked up a ball from Fraser Campbell.
You talked about speed there, right? Austin picks that up. Usually, okay, he's going to have enough time to get off his foot. Now they're pressuring straight away. So it's a difference of that half second or a second.
Another corner kick brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey. The top Invisalign provider in the tri-state, Chung Young Lee, will come over to take it. A midfielder, 28 years old at 5'11". He is one of the shorter men out on the pitch tonight for Palace. He'll swing it in. Mitch Hildebrandt takes it into the goal.
Yeah, I think he pushed him.
They call a foul. So not a goal for Crystal Palace. Some contact there in the 6-yard box.
Yeah, he hit the throw, pushing him back into the goal.
Jordan Much got his arm into Mitch Hildebrandt. So no goal for Crystal Palace. And instead, FC Cincinnati will do their best to try to get it into the midfield. Ball was intended for Cummings, who was broken up by Delaney. And then a foul after FC Cincinnati was trying to turn it the other way, called on Sean Okoli. He got tangled up with Bakary Sako.
We talked about it at the start, but Sean and Omar both are going to be huge tonight for FC's attack.
Much with a right foot, and there it is. Crystal Palace is on the board in that 8th minute. Jordan Much lets it fly from 18 yards away and sticks it past Mitch Hildebrandt.
What a strike. Probably 30 yards out, maybe 25 yards out. Gets the ball, drives it into the top corner. Great technique, great finish. Yeah, takes a touch, looks up. Fantastic finish. Not much that Mitch can do with that, really.
I thought he brought it in a little bit further. He didn't. You're right. 25 yards away. And Mitch Hildebrandt made his best effort, but could not quite catch up with it. So Jordan Much on the board for the visitors. The native of Alveston, Derby, England. A 6-foot midfielder, made 20 appearances last year in the English Premier League. Did not score during the season for the Premiership, but lets one fly on a great look to give Palace an early advantage.
I think anytime you give these players at this level, you know, 2 yards, 3 yards, that far out in position, central in front of the goal, it's going to be trouble.
Sean Okoli just outside the 18. Palace closes in. Then McMahon comes over to try to keep it alive. Chung Young Lee has it deflect off him.
It's a good tackle there by Kenny too.
Paul Nicholson pushing it forward to Wiedemann. Wiedemann out wide for McLaughlin. McLaughlin with a left foot. It's deflected. Corner kick coming up for FC Cincinnati. Their second of the night.
Good chance. I like how Kenny and Paul have kind of matched up already. Both sides of the ball they can play. Obviously they can defend, but they can go forward. So I think this is a good matchup. Good selection on John's part.
Kenny Walker will pull it wide. If you missed us at the top of the broadcast, this match sold out last night. 35,061 expected to be the attendance number called, and right now they're on their feet chanting FCC. Swung across into the box by Kenny Walker, and Harrison Delbridge was the target. Tried to track it down long, ended up flicking it away out along the end line.
Yeah, I think it just overhit that a little bit. Harrison just tries to track it down and keep it in.
So a couple opportunities early on for FC Cincinnati. Certainly the possession has been dominated by Palace thus far.
Call offside maybe?
Yeah, it certainly appears that way. Flag was up, offside is the call. Wilfred Zaha was trying to put it back into play for Palace. And Brandon Artis had to point to the assistant referee on the far side. Pollock sending it in to the middle. Nicholson. Now McLaughlin. If you want to talk about experience in England from the perspective of FC Cincinnati, I mentioned Nicholson, of course, a native of England, but never got a run with an EPL side. The only one that has is Omar Cummings. He trialed with Aston Villa. There was some hope that he would sign. There were some work visa issues, so he never did sign. That was really during his best season with Colorado in MLS. He was an all-star that year. He started the MLS All-Star game in 2011 against Man U. So he started against Man U in that All-Star game, which Man U won 5-0, and then he trialed with Aston Villa and said it was one of the best experiences of his life.
I'm sure. And this is the difference just in systems. You know, a lot of the US-based players, even international players, they come through the US at a young age. They'll go through college, they'll go, you know, into a draft or a combine, and then get signed professionally. Where a lot of the Crystal Palace, those players are on books or being signed as YTS players, youth training scheme players, at 16, right? And they're trained professionals. So, I mean, they really learn and kind of understand their craft and their art from a young age. So, and you'll see that in the difference in just how they approach things. And then even just, you talked about athleticism, you'll see the difference in body type, right? They've been kind of training and looking after their bodies from that young age, so it makes a big, big difference.
And as we go through the roster and tell you some of the stories of the young men playing out here for Crystal Palace tonight, you said some of them signed at 16. Some of them got into the academy programs at 7 and 8 years old. So they've been on the radar, whether it's Crystal Palace as a homegrown talent or somebody else. They've been on the radar of various academies for a long time.
I think, yeah, at 16, usually that YTS form, it's their first step into like the pro system. So they're eligible to train with the first team. You know, there's times that they'll play in the reserves, or, you know, obviously a guy like Wayne Rooney played at 16 for the first team. So for Everton when he came on the scene. So that's the difference. You know, these guys have kind of been around, as you said, been in academies from 8 and 9 years old.
Certainly a name that a lot of American soccer fans are familiar with is Andros Townsend. He is not dressed, well, he is dressed, I'm sorry, he is not in the match right now. Number 17 for Crystal Palace. He started on Wednesday against Philadelphia, so Alan Pardue mixing it up. May bring him off the bench today, but he's a Tottenham product and somebody that people, yeah, a very special player.
Yeah, watching him try to talk with Don McNally, soccer operations, and he talked about Andros as probably the best player on the field. Just in watching the things that he does, you know, the ability and creativity that he has on the ball as well. So, you know, he's a guy that pre-season, you know, he may not play as much. In season, he's going to be playing.
Well, they just spent a large sum of money to bring him into Crystal Palace. So the transfer fee very high to get Andros Townsend in red and blue.
He's a difference maker at that highest level, you know.
Here's Chung Young Lee across the midfield onto Damian Delaney. And forward right onto the head of Austin Berry. We are in the 15th minute of this international friendly at Nippert Stadium. 1-0 in favor of the visitors. Pat McMahon not able to do anything with it along the end line except knock it out. So a corner kick coming up, which is brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey, the top Invisalign provider in the tri-state.
I think Damian Delaney here, number 27, coming up. He's going to be probably one of their main targets on set pieces. Big guy. We saw him last night at the reception. He's
6'3", maybe a little bit on the short side, right?
Yeah. He grew up playing Gaelic football back in Ireland, actually, so he's a big, strong boy.
From Cork, Ireland, Chung Young Lee swings it in. Tyler Pollock breaks it up. Andrew Wiedemann will come forward to play it, but Lee disrupts from behind. mentioned that Delaney took a knock against Philadelphia on Wednesday. One of the keys is for both of these clubs is to play a clean match, not to get anybody injured, to learn to get better, and then to move forward with everybody healthy.
Absolutely. I think for both teams too. FC Cincinnati have 2 big games coming up on Wednesday and Saturday. So they obviously don't want any injuries, and Crystal Palace, obviously they're only 3 weeks away or 4 weeks away from the Premiership starting. So
Zaha will send it along to the far side. Talk about just a gigantic week for soccer in the city of Cincinnati. Tonight an EPL side here with 35,000 in Nippert Stadium. Wednesday night, the second place team in the USL Eastern Conference is here. That is New York Red Bulls 2, and John Harkes thinks they might be the best team in the USL as a whole. And then, as far as the numbers are concerned, the first place team in the East is here next Saturday at 4 o'clock in Louisville City. So a few challenges in 8 days for John Harkes' lads.
A lot of games. And they'll be smart with the recovery. You know, obviously over the next 2 days, they're not going to be doing anything too strenuous to get ready for that big game on Wednesday. And then same thing, it's going to have to be a quick turnaround, you know.
Well, they're going to be smart tonight as well. Beyond the 60th minute, you will not see any of these 11 out in white and orange for John Harkes. He's going to switch goalkeepers at the half. Dallas J will come in. Dallas has only played 1 match, has not played a single USL minute yet, so it gives him an opportunity to play. He even expects to go to his 3rd string goalkeeper, Dan Williams, towards the end of the match. He said he's going to play every single player on his roster and give them a chance to say that they played against Crystal Palace.
What an experience, you know, for all of those guys. So that's great to see, you know. I will say this, I think, you know, the crowd coming out tonight, I think they'll want to try to see a goal from FC Cincinnati if they can.
Absolutely.
That would be huge. You know, that will definitely lift the spirits of this crowd and kind of see, you know, the excitement from our players. And that's, you know, obviously they're here to see Crystal Palace, but you see how many fans with orange and blue in the stadium.
Joel Ward sent it across the mouth of the goal. As you see John Harkes chatting with Andrew Wiedemann, the California native. And a goal kick coming up for Mitch Hildebrand. Mitch gave up that early goal, obviously, on a brilliant strike from Jordan Munch. But he's been brilliant in his own mind this season in USL play.
He's been fantastic. Look, those strikes, you can't really do much about it, you know.
And he's not going to see many strikes like that.
No, not hit without venom.
In the United Soccer League. Zaha. Wilfred Zaha, native of the Ivory Coast. Moved to England, however, at the age of 4. And therefore had the opportunity to either play for the Ivory Coast or for England. And he chose England, where he has 2 caps representing. Ball sent across by Crystal Palace on into the FC Cincinnati bench, so Pat McMahon will quickly throw it in. If you're wondering where Corbin Bone is, we will see Corbin Bone. John Harkes had a decision to make in the midfield. He wanted to get Austin Berry a start. Remember, he's still coming back from injury and has not started since returning to the regular season 18. So he got Austin Berry the start at center back, and then gave Paul Nicholson the chance to start, because of course he is from England. And therefore Corbin Bone will come off the bench today. And you know what? Corbin Bone's played a lot of minutes. That gives him a chance to rest. Coley fires a shot from 35 yards away. Nearly ended up on the foot of Andrew Wiedemann after being deflected.
You know, it's a tough decision, obviously, to leave Corbin out. But I think bringing Austin in certainly gives him a chance to bring some fitness back. You know, he's been out for so long. And I hope he's okay here.
So a collision just outside the 18 between Austin Berry and Fraser Campbell. Both players are slow to their feet. And as we were just saying, Austin Berry coming back from injury.
Yeah.
Oh.
He just hit shins and maybe chest.
He may have got him in the groin too.
Yeah.
Austin Berry slow to his feet, but now he's up walking around. He appears to be okay, and he wants to make sure that Campbell is all right. He is. Campbell with a lot of experience. Man U, Tottenham, Sunderland, Cardiff City. He signed with Crystal Palace back in 2014. Brandon Artis called the foul on Austin Berry, and here comes a dangerous set piece for Crystal Palace.
This is where they're going to be lethal also, set pieces. You know, anywhere where they can get free room to strike.
Come from about 25 yards away. Deflected directly into the air. Chung Young Lee tried to get to it, could not. Bakary Sacco took the free kick, and a corner kick coming up. It's brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey. Chung Young Lee will come over to take it. Sets to put his right foot into it. Zaha comes over if they want to play it short. A little bit of a tie-up between Martin Kelly and Harrison Delbridge in the box. Headed away by Sean Okoli. Kenny Walker trying to get to it. Plays it brilliantly forward.
Good here.
Okoli on to Cummings. And disrupted just as FC Cincinnati was looking to get into the offensive third.
I think Omar just, he'll regret that touch a little bit. Unlucky, he's coming in at speed, changing direction, but
think about the speed of Omar Cummings there.
100%. That's what I'm.
And Sean Okoli, and how quickly Palace was able to close in on FC Cincinnati.
And Omar knows it too. I think if he gets a little softer touch there, they're in. But exactly the threat there from those guys. Jimmy does a great job connecting. It's going to cause Crystal Palace some problems for sure.
Here comes the throw-in for FC Cincinnati in the offensive third. They will back it off. John Hark said that there's a possibility he does go to the bench in the first half. He wanted to see how things played out across the first 45 minutes. There is no substitution rule today, so you can sub in and out as many guys as you want in the spirit of this friendly. McLaughlin to Cummings, who was about a step away from his right foot, and he couldn't get off a good look.
I think the speed too with Sean and Omar is going to cause Delaney and Kelly a little bit of problem. They're big guys, look to be pretty mobile, but once players like Sean and Omar get on the ground, that's tough for a big centre back to turn and chase.
Plenty of size there on the back line, as we were discussing. Delaney and Kelly both listed at 6'3". Wilfred Zaha coming in, and a great job coming off the line by Mitch Hildebrand.
That's his bread and butter, right? He does everything that you need him to do. Great distribution into Tyler to start the attack again.
Fans here in Cincinnati happy to see that. Nicholson, a long ball for Wiedemann, pulls it down, holding onto it inside the 18. Wiedemann along the end line, sends it across. Delaney gets his head onto it. Chung Young Lee, how about that move?
Does well.
Coming all the way back to keep it from going out and heads it into being a throw-in.
Does very well.
Wiedemann again along the end line. Nice ball across, but nobody there. And then Alex McCarthy.
Yeah, very calm from Ward. Just knew where the pressure was and just kind of laid back into the goalkeeper, McCarthy.
McCarthy has been challenged once by the Englishman Paul Nicholson. Jordan Much in the midfield, 24th minute. Crystal Palace on top, 1-0. Zeke Friars. It's a young man that this club is very excited about. Friars, just 23 years old, a native of Manchester, England. Wiedemann picks it up in the midfield, plays it forward for Cummings. Okoli out wide. Okoli trying to give it back to Cummings, who just hesitated and made his run a little too late.
Yeah, great movement from Omar too. Just as he said, Sean just overcommitted a little bit with the pass, but again, we talked about it. The connection, those guys are starting to develop since they've changed and went two up top. It's great. It's great to see they're developing a good chemistry.
McCarthy getting set to take the goal kick. 26 years old. He was a part of Reading's academy, which he joined at 16 years of age. A native of Guildford, England. Made 7 appearances during the Premier League season last year. Sean Okoli getting a ball forward, getting tied up with Damian Delaney. And the assistant referee is going to intervene and call a foul on Sean Okoli.
That's where Delaney uses his size and his strength well. Just kind of holds him off, gets body position, and Sean gets a little frustrated.
Got a little bit of his jersey there.
He did.
Yeah.
That's a seasoned pro too,
Now, John Harkes joked on his radio show Tuesday night that the guys wanted to know if they were going to be able to swap jerseys after the match. Maybe he thought it was time to swap at that point.
Yeah.
A little bit early, but I'm sure that conversation may be had afterwards.
Yeah.
Not sure how many kits Crystal Palace brought. They played at Philadelphia, and they are wearing their red and blue home kits throughout this 3-match series in North America. Ball goes off the back of Brandon Artis. He will call foul right at midfield. Bakary Sacco was taken down.
Is that maybe Paul that kind of came in and pressured? As I said, FC Cincinnati, they're going to be eager. You know, they're not going to kind of sit back too much. It looks like they've upped, instead of sitting back, they've upped to kind of pressure. They've changed how they're going to defend a little bit from the start of the first 15 minutes.
Omar Cummings gets the header, but nobody there to help. Picked back up by Palace. Played out wide to Zaha. Zaha working on Pat McMahon, who does a nice job defensively and turns him around.
The problem here with Kenny and Paul, you know, they're going to be kind of chasing and running a little bit. Palace are playing with 3 in the middle. You know, they're playing in that 4-2-3-1. And obviously with Paul and Kenny, they're playing, you know, in the traditional 4-4-2. It's a lot of space to kind of defend. So they've got to kind of pick and choose the times when to pressure, when to drop. And hopefully get a little bit of support defensively from Omar or from Sean dropping back in to help.
Saw the patience of Crystal Palace there as they backed it off all the way to their goalkeeper, Alex McCarthy, and then hit the reset button. A collision just across midfield. Harrison Delbridge coming forward and colliding with Fraser Campbell.
Yeah, I think he just hits him in the back of the head. Good intent though, you know, he's coming in, he's got his eye on the ball. Just catches him at the end or in the back of the head. So
Delbridge was hoping to see number 15 for Crystal Palace out on the pitch tonight. That's Mile Jedinak, a native of Australia. He's the captain of the Australian national team. If you're a casual fan and trying to grasp the talent level that we're dealing with in Crystal Palace tonight, well, there's part of it. You have guys from all types of national teams on this club here playing.
Great little bit of skill there from
Paul
Zaha.
Nicholson there, yeah, with the foul. Got a piece of Zaha.
That's what you're going to see with Wilfred Zaha. He's very, very smooth, you know, got great balance, good with both feet. You can change direction left and right. He'll be looking to have another stellar, you know, performance and year in the Premiership this season as well.
Ball comes into the 6. Campbell trying to get a piece of it. And finally the whistle is blown by Brandon Artis, and he'll give it back to FC Cincinnati.
It's a tough job from Pat too to defend. You know, he's obviously a world level player with Zaha. He's got that extra year to go past players as well. So I feel for Pat. I mean, he's definitely going to have his hands full with this guy.
Goal kick coming up for Mitch Hildebrand. 29th minute at Nippert Stadium. First time an English Premier League side has ever played in the Queen City, in the largest crowd to ever watch soccer in the state of Ohio. Tom Gallardo, Kevin McCloskey, happy to be with you up here in the booth. Lindsey Patterson is down on the sideline. Omar Cummings fighting for it alongside Hiram Boateng, the midfielder out of London. Hiram is just 20 years old, one of the younger guys on this trip, and a youngster that the coaching staff is really excited to get some experience and see what they can do with him.
Right. Let's go back to that stat about, you know, the attendance. That's crazy to think about. All the, you know, U.S. national games that have played at Crew Stadium. That's so significant. I mean, it's great for the city too, which is fantastic to see.
Boateng, who has not yet been capped on a senior national level, has passports both from Ghana and England, so he has the dual opportunity, if it comes along, to play for one of those national teams. Austin Berry across midfield to Tyler Pollock. Knocked out, throw-in coming for Pollock. Let's go down to the pitch and check in with Lindsay.
Huge crowd here tonight, but I want to talk about where Crystal Palace plays. It's Selhurst Park. It's a little smaller than Nippert, 92 years old. It seats about 26,000 plus, and a little bit of the connection there because John Harkes has played there before. A record attendance here tonight in Selhurst Park. They had a record attendance of 51,801 when they saw Crystal Palace defeat Burnley FC to win a championship.
Talk a little bit more about the crowds and the 35,000 here in a moment. In the meantime, a nice build-up by FC Cincinnati and a good job by the home club to draw a foul, and now a very dangerous free kick coming up.
Yeah, as you said, there's experience in this FC Cincinnati team. We've seen it all season long, you know, and it's still a game. You still got to play between the lines, so they're going to be smart with their judgment. They're going to try to get any type of opportunity. Set pieces are going to be big, you know, from run of play. Obviously, going to have to break down experienced defenders, but anytime that you can get a corner or a free kick, they're going to try to make the most of it.
Kenny Walker and Tyler Pollock standing over it. Pollock going to run by. Walker going to swing it in right into the hands of Alex McCarthy, who collects. I mentioned that Crystal Palace played in Philadelphia on Wednesday. The announced attendance for that match as Delbridge and Zaha get tied up. No whistle. Wiedemann trying to get it forward, and now Palace will take over possession as Delbridge is slow to his feet. Play will be stopped while Delbridge will get a moment from Brandon Artis, but the announced attendance, let's take another look first at the collision. And that's probably a foul, right?
Yeah, I'm trying to look to see what knee Harrison's grabbing. I think maybe his
left
standing, yeah, probably was a standing leg. So he might have twisted that a little bit when Zaha kind of came in, or, you know, they kind of got tangled up, but I'm hoping that's okay as well.
And Delbridge goes back down.
You see him come in here, just clips it.
Tough collision with Wilfred Zaha.
I was holding his shin, so hopefully it's just his shin, it's not his knee.
Evan Lee quickly getting his jersey top on over on FC Cincinnati's bench, and I'd imagine John Harkes would seriously consider taking Harrison Delbridge out here. As we mentioned, two very big matches coming up, but we were talking about the crowd here tonight at 35,000. The announced attendance in Philadelphia was 12,000, and the folks from the Crystal Palace travel party that I spoke with, I don't think anybody was buying that there was 12,000 in Philadelphia on Wednesday night. So when these guys landed on Thursday, I was told that as they started to look at their phones, and at that point it was announced 30,000 tickets were out, they're like, okay,
yeah,
this is going to be a game.
Yeah.
There's going to be 30,000 people here. That's more than they play in front of at Crystal Palace, at Selhurst Park. And that they were really excited when they heard about the support here in Cincinnati, and these guys have been having a great time the past few days.
Oh, 100%. I think Alan Pardew talked about it last night. Of, you know, I think they get maybe an average of 27, 26,000. And for us, you know, for FC Cincinnati to have 35,000 tonight, it's fantastic. I mean, it's great.
President Jeff Birding announced the sellout at the pre-match event last night, hosted just downstairs over here in the press box and luxury seating structure at Nippert Stadium. About 6 or 7 Crystal Palace players were there. Where were the rest of them? Did you see the pictures on Twitter?
I did not.
They were down on the river watching the Cincinnati Reds.
There you go.
So a chance to take in a baseball game. You don't get a whole lot of that back home in England.
No, not at all. Not at all. Foreign sport for them, for sure.
Ball flies over their head. They were, as Lindsay talked about early, wildly impressed with the pitch and the surface outside of Paul Brown Stadium. The grass surface, of course, the Bengals play on now. To be fair, the Bengals have had all summer to groom it, and very little action on it, as a foul will be called right at midfield. Paul Nicholson is taken down.
You're talking about the field, so I think that's probably the biggest thing that Crystal Palace have to adapt to. You know, being able to play on a synthetic surface as opposed to grass. And obviously they trained at Paul Brown. It's going to be better on their joints, you know, less kind of wear and tear. They're trying to prevent, you know, some of these injuries too. So I think tonight that's going to be their biggest adjustment. And a big challenge for them too, because there is a difference when that ball drops, you know, how it bounces, how your first touch is, you know, even how it comes off your foot when you strike it.
They did come here and train last night for about an hour and a half before having an autograph session, and then they trained again outside of Paul Brown Stadium this morning on the grass pitch, and that's part of what they need set up to come over here and train. If they're going to play the match on artificial turf, then they need to have a grass field to get some training in. The Bengals were kind enough to allow for them to be there for 2 days.
He'll look great chip, by the way.
Crystal Palace into the offensive third, already leading by 1. A turn and a shot by Sacco is turned away by FC Cincinnati. Then it'll roll out along the touchline, and a throw-in coming in for the home lad.
Yeah, it takes it up here. Again, you know, these wingers both want kind of opportunities where you're going 1v1. Tyler does good to get across and block that shot. I think it might have actually been Boateng that came in with that.
Throw in from McMahon. Of note, Harrison Delbridge, by the way, he did stay in while we were talking about the crowd, and he was being attended to by the medical staff. Remained in. Evan Lee was getting ready to replace him, but Delbridge able to continue, so that's good news. Ball played out wide for Sacco. Pulling it towards the corner with Pollock there defensively. Sacco gets around him. Sends it into the middle, nobody home. McMahon will head it backwards, right in the direction of Zaha. Wiedemann was trying to get there and somehow save it along the touchline.
Yeah, I think he thought he could sneak that, keep it in play, and kind of attack straight away.
Hiram Boateng just across midfield, getting pressure from Cummings.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. That forward kind of dropping in to help. That's definitely going to help Kenny Walker and Paul Nicholson.
Looked like it was going to be an FC Cincinnati throw-in. Instead, it'll go to Palace. Brought back into play by Zeke Friars. Friars spent a season playing in Belgium. After playing early on with Man U, had a knee injury there before leaving that club. Austin Berry going to knock it away in the corner. Was able to do it along the touchline, so it'll be a throw-in.
I think the pace of Fraser Campbell too. I think him and Harrison have got to be aware of that, spacing behind them. You know, he's got tons and tons of pace, so they've got to make sure that their starting positions are good. They kind of read that entrance pass in.
Make sure you stay with us. Coming up at halftime, we have some special content coming up for you. We will play a piece with Dan McNally. And I'm sorry, we will play a piece with some history. We got Dan McNally in the pregame. We'll have a history piece to tell you a little bit more about Crystal Palace coming up at halftime. We'll also have an interview with FC Cincinnati President Jeff Birdie and an interview with Cincinnati Mayor John Cranley. He will join Lindsay down on the pitch at halftime. So a lot of great things, as well as the usual highlights and stats.
Great pass by Paul, by the way.
Nicholson forward to Jimmy McLaughlin, just outside the 18. FC Cincinnati got back to the offensive third. Then it's cleared away by Joel Ward, the Englishman. And a throw will come deep in the offensive third for FC Cincinnati. McLaughlin gets the throw in. Walker, Pollock pinching forward, can't catch up with it, and Palace recovers, sending it back to their goalkeeper, Alex McCarthy. McCarthy unable to clear. McLaughlin taken down by Boateng, no whistle, and here comes Palace the other way. Chung Young Lee right up the middle of the pitch. Lee gonna swing it out wide for Campbell. Fraser Campbell into the 18, left-footed shot, sails high, and in the direction of the Bailey, where a nice catch is made in the front row.
Fraser Campbell has a good opportunity. He takes a good touch inside Kenny Walker, and probably has a little bit more time. You would expect a little bit more quality from a player of his ability.
Campbell, 28 years old, was called up to the English first team in 2012 at the age of 24. Product of Man U's youth academy, so you know if you're in that program that things are going well.
Things are going well. That's the thing too. You talked about, you know, these players coming at a young age. It's got to a point now where these bigger clubs in that top third in the Premiership, they're not satisfied with just, you know, players in England. They're going out. They have scouts all across continental Europe, South America, even North America too. So they're looking for the best young prospect, and they're trying to fly them in and get them committed if they can and on contract, or at least a pathway and a plan for them.
When I read, you know, in preparing for this match about many of the guys for Crystal Palace where their family moved to England at the age of 4, at the age of 6, maybe the age of 7, because their talent was recognized at that point, so the whole family uprooted and moved to England so they could be part of a youth academy.
Yeah. And it's crazy, you know, kind of recognizing talent at that young age, and hopefully seeing that it projects into, you know, a professional level, a professional standard. I mean, it's crazy to kind of take players at that age, because a lot can happen, you know, obviously with development, with injuries. but it shows that they've got the system in place. You know, they do this a lot. They have all the support. They probably have a lot of the resources and finances to support it, and it works. You know, even if they don't get it every time, they're developing players, you know, every other year.
Paul Nicholson dropping it off to Wiedemann in the midfield. Nice flick back to Zaha. Here we go into the offensive third, Crystal Palace. Zaha into the 18. Austin Berry coming around him. Hildebrandt has to come off his line, gets a piece of it. And a corner kick coming up for Palace. It is brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey, the top Invisalign provider in the tri-state. But a great run there by Wilfred Zaha.
Yeah, this is where I talked about an extra year earlier. You know, Mix does great, fantastic to come out and kind of close them down. But Zaha he's a handful. As I said, he's a world-class player.
Chung Young Lee will come over and set up for the corner kick in the 41st minute. Crystal Palace leading 1-0. Lee into the box, headed away by Pat McMahon. Now played all the way back to goalkeeper Alex McCarthy. Cummings closing in, and McCarthy has to get rid of it.
Good job from Nicholson and Austin reading that play. So I think FC Cincinnati, if they can get a little bit more possession too and kind of take out the transition piece of this, you know, it's kind of going back and forth. Get a bit of momentum, some confidence, you know, string some passes together, and then hopefully create an opportunity, certainly before the end of the half.
Ball back to Hildebrandt. You've seen FC Cincinnati push down towards the offensive third, get a few opportunities, and of course the shot from Paul Nicholson and the save by Alex McCarthy. Certainly the best opportunity we have seen so far. Hildebrandt standing on it as FC Cincinnati trying to set up. And he will sail it out of bounds at midfield. All of tonight's sideline reports are brought to you by Joseph Toyota, #1 in Cincinnati for sales satisfaction for the second straight year. Come experience the Joseph way. Let's check in with Lindsay Patterson.
Cincinnati has the Reds, Bengals, ECHL, college sports teams in town. How different is it in London? 5 Premier League teams, 13 total professional clubs, all in one city. Most clubs in London have their own stadium, although some clubs share them. Wembley Stadium, a well-known location, and very own Bengals are going to be playing there October 31st against the Washington Redskins.
Certainly exciting, and I'd imagine a few members of that Bengals travel party will be trying to catch an EPL match while they're over there.
Yeah.
It's an extended trip for the Bengals to play in London. Paul Nicholson will swing it out wide to Wiedemann. 43rd minute. Cummings with a run, got past Zaha. Pulling it towards the corner, just outside the 18. Trying to beat two guys, and Zaha poked it away.
Yeah, no,
How
he
about
does
that?
well.
You're going up against Wilfred Zaha and Damian Delaney trying to get into the 18.
He did well too. You know, obviously commits them and draws them. Another good pass out from Nicholson out wide. I think it might have been to Wiedemann. Wiedemann does a good job. And again, Omar's just, you know, the runs, it's kind of hard to see probably off camera, but some of the runs that he's making.
Cummings with a look, and McCarthy has to swat it away. A huge save by Alex McCarthy, and there's the best look of the night, and it's off the foot of the big cat.
And getting into those positions and those opportunities, that's exactly what I was talking about with his runs. Good first time strike. Good save by McCarthy.
McCarthy's
does very
now
well
had
to
two
keep
of
it down,
those
actually.
tonight. Tyler Pollock will stand in the corner and get ready to strike it with his left foot. Sends it into the box, a bit too aggressive over the head of everybody.
Yeah.
Austin
okay.
Perry draws a foul. A little bit of a push just outside the 18, and now a dangerous spot as FC Cincinnati will look for an equalizer in the 45th minute.
Very important now to get something from this. If they can make the keeper save it or put it into the dangerous area, don't want to overhit it. You know, they obviously want to give maybe Harrison a chance to get his head on it, or maybe even strike it. You know, Kenny has the ability to strike it from this distance, so let's test the keeper here.
Kenny Walker and Tyler Pollock had a look from there. Earlier in the match, nothing came of it. Pollock ran away as Walker set to take it. See if they mix things up this time. Almost the exact same spot.
I think the wall is quite 10 yards back, but
Walker will take the shot and sail it wide. You had Cummings and Nicholson making a run there.
good decision to hit it. You know, you've got a minute left, and obviously just improving in that ability to kind of hit it on free, but I don't doubt that decision at all.
Crystal Palace pushing it across midfield. Chung Young Lee has it broken up by Austin Berry. 1 minute of stoppage time tacked on by the fourth official, Courtney Hayworth. Paul Nicholson going to pick it up in midfield. Again, we expect 4 or 5 subs coming out of the locker room at halftime from John Harkes. Damian Delaney heads it away. That ball was going for Omar Cummings. He would have had a great look if it got there, but Delaney uses his height to break it up.
I think FC Cincinnati have got to be, you know, pretty pleased with this performance. Going in 45 minutes, the one shot, obviously the goal from Crystal Palace, not much you could have done about that. But for the most part, they've contained them. You know, defensively, they've kind of kept them in front and dealt with their pressure and their attack. And then in possession for FC Cincinnati, they've created decent opportunities. I think they need to improve maybe their possession a little bit and try to get numbers forward. But I've been impressed. I think they've done well.
Pollock will drop it back for Nicholson, and then trying to get it forward, and the whistle comes from Brandon Arnis. That means we have reached halftime at Nippert Stadium on a historic night for the sport of soccer. 45 minutes in the books, still 45 to come. Crystal Palace FC leading FC Cincinnati 1-0. Let's go down to the pitch and check in with Lindsay Patterson, who is with John Harkes.
Coach, a couple of the guys getting tied up down there. The goal to avoid injuries in a friendly. But what else are you looking for from your guys?
Good habits. You know, we want to be able to carry the good habits from this game, playing at such a fast pace and a high level, you know, into the match against New York Red Bulls on Wednesday and also Saturday against Louisville. So from our perspective, can we be a little bit tighter in our collective and our understanding? When it's this loud, you've got to be able to visualize and see each other and connect that way, because you can't hear. So to be fair, we've done pretty well. It was a shame to give up the goal early like that, but I thought the guys got back into the game.
It's a nice second half, too. You get to see some other guys get some action that normally don't get to see the field.
This is a celebration for the city. It's not about winning this game. It's about getting guys on for their development, their experience. That's what we got to use this for.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
All right, great job, Lindsay, as always. Of course, all of her sideline reports tonight are brought to you by Joseph Toyota. So a celebration of soccer, in the words of John Harkes here tonight. 1 half down, 1 still to come your way, and a lot of halftime content coming up, including an interview with President Jeff Birding. The halftime score 1-0 in favor of Crystal Palace. This is FC Cincinnati Soccer. I got you. Tonight's halftime report is brought to you by Joseph Toyota, #1 in Cincinnati for sales satisfaction for the second straight year. Come experience the Joseph way. Halftime back at Nippert Stadium between Crystal Palace FC and FC Cincinnati. And Palace, an English Premier League side with a lot of history and tradition. Playing in South London, a club that's been playing football, as they call it, on the other side of the pond for over 100 years. For more, we go back to our friends from Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace Football Club was formed in 1905 in South London at the site of the iconic glass building from which we took our name. But it wasn't until 1924 that we found our spiritual home, the famous Sellers Park, and in 1969 we finally made the big time with promotion to the top tier of English football. With an eye on the future, charismatic fedora-wearing coach Malcolm Allison changed the club's colours and nickname. Overnight the Glaziers became the Eagles, and the famous red and blue striped uniforms were adopted for the first time. Rookie coach Terry Venables, who went on to manage Barcelona in England, took charge in the late 70s and moulded an exciting young team of local players. It was also the first time we saw the iconic sash kick. Ian Wright and Mark Bright helped break new ground as the Eagles soared to their first FA Cup final in 1990, and led by legendary ex-Manchester United star Steve Coppell, we also became founder members of the English Premier League. The 90s saw the club flip-flop between the top two divisions, and in that time the US provided the Eagles with some key players. Crowd favourite Jovan Karofsky and defensive rock Greg Berhalter, the latter becoming Palace's first ever World Cup representative. More player success in the early part of the new millennium gave the fans plenty to cheer about, but off-the-field financial problems meant by 2010 the club was on the brink of liquidation. Step forward a team of Palace fans led by Steve Parish to save the club from extinction. Steve and his co-owners presided over the astonishing rise of the Eagles, which saw the team improve year on year, starting with second-tier survival, then promotion via the playoffs, followed by 3 successful seasons in the Premier League. Local heroes Wilf Zaha, Yannick Bolasie and Jason Punchin have been joined by international stars like Mile Jedinak and Johan Cabaye. And as the club continues on its path to success, our FA Cup run in 2016 very nearly resulted in a famous victory over Manchester United at Wembley. But despite defeat, our fans showed the world what it means to be part of the famous red and blue. We are CPFC, and this is our history.
Halftime in Nippert Stadium, where Crystal Palace FC leading FC Cincinnati 1-0 thanks to a goal in the 8th minute. Tom Glitter, happy to be back with you alongside FC Cincinnati President Jeff Birding, who's put a lot of work into tonight. Jeff, you made the announcement last night at an event downstairs as your ticket guys were watching the computers and watching those last few seats be sold, that it's a sold-out crowd, 35,000 and change here at Nippert Stadium. Congratulations to you and your staff. I know a lot of hard work over the last 2 months went in to get to this, but it has to be a great thrill just to look out and see the stadium in this way.
Obviously, we're so grateful for the embrace of our community. We said from the very beginning, Cincinnati is a big league sports town, and I think we're showing it tonight.
You made the announcement 2 months ago that Crystal Palace would come here to Cincinnati to take on your club. You had an open Saturday on the schedule, so it worked out in their tour. But how do those conversations begin with a club overseas to see if it'll fit, to see if it makes sense for both of these teams?
Well, obviously, we were drawing enormous crowds from the get-go. So we have a great venue here in Nippert, and I think that people saw that we play a very attractive soccer. John Harkes, our coach, Carl Lindner, our ownership group, and I think we were just a good draw. And obviously, as you said, the schedule worked. We had other clubs contacting us, but we were excited to play Crystal Palace because they're an up-and-coming club just like we are.
10 wins on the season, for your guys in a challenging week coming up, it's fair to say. An EPL side tonight, the second place team in the Eastern Conference coming up on Wednesday night at home, and then Saturday home again against the first place team in the Eastern Conference. I think it's exciting. It's great for soccer fans. It has to be a dream come true, and a great opportunity for folks maybe who didn't get a ticket for tonight to come back out Wednesday or next Saturday or both.
Absolutely. New York Red Bulls, classy organization. They're in second place, a point ahead of us. Louisville City, our big rival, River City's Cup will be decided next Saturday. We're hoping we can do over 20,000 again next Saturday against Louisville City. We're trying to make the playoffs, and then once you make the playoffs, you want to make some noise in the postseason, and that's our aim, and I feel real good about where we are.
We're going to hear from Mayor Cranley here in a few minutes to get the civic side of things and the reaction of the city, but you were an American football guy for many, many years working with the Bengals, and they were a great partner this week as well in helping out Crystal Palace to have a grass pitch to train on.
Obviously, there's no better facilities in town than the Bengals, and they're good friends, and they were very generous. We wanted Crystal Palace to see top-of-the-line American facilities, and the Bengals hosted them, and I know that the Palace staff and players were all thrilled to be there. They're bringing the world to Cincinnati. This is the world's sport, and Palace brings the world with soccer, and I think our fans are being entertained tonight.
And it certainly sounds like Palace is going to go back to South London and have great reviews of the city of Cincinnati. Jeff, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
As always, again, congratulations on the big crowd today.
Thank you.
That is Jeff Birding. I am Tom Glitter. Still much more to come on our halftime report. Like I said, we will hear from the mayor, John Cranley. He will be with Lindsey Patterson when we return. We'll also take a look at some of the highlights from the first 45 minutes. Again, halftime here at Nippert Stadium. This is FC Cincinnati Soccer. Does Lindsey have the mayor? I see Lindsey. Where are they, Jeff? Oh, yeah, she got him. Yeah, they got him. I see. No, I was trying to see. I'm here. Oh, they didn't know if Lindsey's with the mayor. I bring it back, send to Lindsey, right?
This is the new Cincinnati. FC Cincinnati has taken the city by storm. It is electric here at Nippert. I want to thank Jeff Birding and Carl Linder and all the owners who've really invested in this. But most importantly, look at the Bailey, look at the crowds. I mean, this is a soccer town. I think it's a sport of the future for America. And we've got the Reds and the Bengals, and I think we're going to have FC Cincinnati for a really long time.
You told me you've been to 4 matches. This is your 4th one tonight. What has been a big personal highlight for you coming to these?
Honestly, Cincinnati is my city. I've lived here my whole life. I'm proud to be its mayor. My wife and I are trying to build a better Cincinnati for everybody. and to be here at the creation. Kind of lucky that I get to be mayor when FC Cincinnati starts. The Bengals started here in 1968. They used to play in Nippert, and look where they ended up. And so I think that we're at the beginning of something very special for Cincinnati. I was able to bring my wife and son, not tonight, but to a previous game, and that was exciting to bring my son here, and he can say when he's older that he was at opening season of FC Cincinnati.
Thanks for your time, John.
Thank you.
Back to you guys.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Lindsay. An exciting first half, and Kevin, as we bring you back in for FC Cincinnati, obviously playing a club from the top level in England. They held their own. I mean, 1 goal, 1-0. It came in the 8th minute. It was a great shot, but a good job from John Hark's guys thus far.
I've been very impressed. They've, I think, contained them defensively pretty well. Zaha's got behind them a little bit, on that left-hand side, but for the most part, they've defended well. I think in transition too, they've created some good opportunities in attack, and I think they're right there. I think if they could sneak a goal maybe from a set piece, they're back into the game, and that's what the fans want to see.
Well, they had a couple of great opportunities. Tonight's highlights are brought to you by U.S. Bank, a proud partner of FC Cincinnati, equal housing lender, member FDIC. Well, the highlights got started early for Crystal Palace. They dominated possession, and then they got the first goal of the match on a great ball from just outside the 18. Well, first, FC Cincinnati making a run the other way.
Yeah, this is where we talked about transition. Omar and Sean, that threat up top. That was the foul there on Mitch. I think they're before maybe the center midfielder Hodge. I think maybe just Mitch actually got a hand in his throat. That was a strike. From 25 yards out, the wicked hit. There's not much Mitch can do about that.
So Much gets the goal. That gives Crystal Palace the lead, and then a cracker off the foot of the Jamaican Omar Cummings.
Yeah, and I think in attack, Omar's probably been the biggest threat. He's made some really good channel runs. He's got into good positions, and just obviously there with good technique in front of goal, getting it on target. So hopefully he can come back second half and create some more opportunities.
All right, let's take a look at some of the numbers from the first half, brought to you by Toyota. FC Cincinnati with some looks, 6 shots in the first half, actually outshooting Crystal Palace. A couple of saves for Crystal Palace. FC fouls each way, corner kicks, really. We've seen those set pieces. Crystal Palace, when they tee it up, they're going to find a way to get a good look.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think even with the set pieces and the corner kicks, I think with Delaney and Kelly at the back coming up on corners for Crystal Palace is going to be something that they'll have to deal with. But it could all change in the second half with the starting lineups, and it'll be interesting to see first 5-10 minutes to see how it matches up again.
Well, we were told that Crystal Palace would not make any immediate changes in the second half. FC Cincinnati is expected to make some immediate changes in the upcoming schedule. Had a chance to talk to Jeff Birding about it moments ago. A great stretch for soccer fans, a very tough stretch for John Harkes and his players coming up. New York Red Bulls, Louisville City, and Charleston Battery, all here at Nippert Stadium over the next 2 weeks. Again, it is halftime. Crystal Palace on top 1-0. We'll step aside and take one more break. Second half coming up next. This is FC Cincinnati Soccer. Stadium, we are just about set for the second half. FC Cincinnati will control possession first, but before we get going, let's go back down to the pitch and check in with Lindsay Patterson.
Guys, a lot of talk about this being the biggest soccer match ever in Cincinnati. Some compare it to when the U.S. women's national team, when they faced off New Zealand in October of 2004. But if we're comparing crowds, they attracted a little over 18,000 at Paul Brown Stadium that day. And as we know, we're over 35,000 here at Paul Brown Stadium tonight, almost doubling that 2004 U.S. women's match.
FC Cincinnati will work right to left in their traditional road white kits. To start the second half, Francisco Narbonne, one of the subs, sends it to Luke, who got it to Cummings, and then McLaughlin gets a shot off. Cummings probably had the best look at it, but McLaughlin a second chance opportunity. And boy, did FC Cincinnati, with a couple of sets of fresh legs down the pitch, come out flying to start the second half.
I think Jimmy actually has maybe too much space. You know, he kind of comes into this, it's right in front, does a great job of kind of, I think it's maybe Corbin to tell him to leave it.
It was Stevenson.
McLaughlin
caught off Stevenson.
Too much time to think about it.
Omar Cummings remaining in the match for now. He started, sends it across the middle. Stevenson trying to get there. McCarthy comes over, and Joel Ward did a great job of making sure that Stevenson couldn't get there to try to sneak it by him. I'll tell you what, if FC Cincinnati can come out and get a goal here early in the second half right there in front of the Bailey, this place is going to explode.
We've said this from day one too. Look at the depth in FC Cincinnati squad. So these changes, you know, they're not going to drop tempo too much. You know, you've got some quality coming in with Stevenson, Tomaselli coming into the midfield as well.
Francisco Narbonne, you got speed, and Omar Mohamed, who started last time out in a USL match on Saturday a week ago.
And trust me, they've been sitting on the bench very, very hungry. You know, so they're going to come in and going to prove something early on.
There's another change as Dallas J has come in at goalie. Foul there. You see Pat McMahon taken down. So Dallas J in at goalie. Mitch Hildebrand out, gave up the first half goal to Jordan Much. Did not have a save, and Much took a great shot, if you're just joining us, in the 8th minute to give Palace the advantage. Derek Luke in as a substitute to start the second half. So you see Evan Lee at center back. He replaces Harrison Delbridge, who took a knock in the first half. Eric Stevenson in. Francisco Narbonne, Ross Tomaselli, Omar Mohamed, and Dallas J. That rounds out the subs right now for John Harkes.
Yeah.
Freddie Ladapo in and now playing that striker position, native of England. A change for Alan Pardue. And we mentioned a player to watch, number 17. That's Andros Townsend, the newly signed member of Crystal Palace. Omar Mohamed with a shot, skips across, and Omar Cummings doesn't quite get there.
Yeah, I think with Andros Townsend, you're going to see a lot of speed, a lot of skill and creativity. He's going to be a link player. Obviously, they changed the target forward too, with number 8, Freddie Ladapo coming on as well. So it's going to look to play into him and get it back and attack that pocket of space in between. FC, but as you said, they've started fresh, right? They've come out.
I was going to say, you have to love the enthusiasm, the speed, and the organization.
Firing on all cylinders straight away, you know.
49th minute at Nippert Stadium, 1-0 in favor of Palace. Luke going to play it back to Dallas J. Dallas has played just once in an organized match this season. That was in the U.S. Open Cup match back in May, the first round match. A 2-1 victory for FC Cincinnati. Ladapo with a shot, Jay with a save. Didn't get it at first, but was able to get to the rebound before anybody in red and blue got there.
Yeah, Ladapo had a lot of space. You know, ball comes in, tries to hit it, maybe on the hot volley with his left foot. Dallas does enough to stop it.
Cummings with a nice ball forward. McMahon over to Mohamed. Inside the 18, Omar Mohamed trying to get a shot off. Corner kick coming up for FC Cincinnati.
And Omar's certainly not wasting any time. I mean, he's wanted it. He's looking hungry. He wants the ball to feet. He wants to go out to Crystal Palace fullback. So
I mentioned Omar Mohamed started last Saturday against St. Louis. Played well into the second half before coming off for a substitute. He had been fasting for Ramadan, a Muslim on this club. Could not eat between 11 p.m. and 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
or I'm sorry, between 4:30 a.m. and 11 p.m., the other way around.
Yeah.
So he was not able to get on the nutrition to play for about a month for John Harkes, but back into the lineup. And a guy with a lot of young speed at 20 years old. Ball played in the direction of Evan Lee. Comes off of his chest, and then Omar Cummings trying to get to it as Damian Delaney was there. Cummings and Delaney got tied up. Delaney was trying to get a foul called, and instead it's going to be a corner kick a throw-in. Jimmy McLaughlin will come over to take it.
It's so tough. You're talking about Muhammad, obviously fast, and we had a player at Xavier when I was there. Same thing in preseason, it's tough. He's not getting enough kind of energy and nutrition into his body. Then he's training, expecting to recover and playing. So I think for those 4 weeks, I think it knocked him back a little bit. But good to see him kind of recover, and he looks very fresh tonight.
Ross Tomaselli there knocked it away from Andros Townsend. Townsend signed 15 days ago, and a signing that the fans back in South London are very excited about. Stevenson coming up the middle of the pitch, lets it fly with his right foot. McCarthy has it bounce off his chest, but nobody there in a white jersey to try and stuff it in.
We talk about the transfer of Townsend too. That's a player going from, we talked about London clubs earlier with Lindsay, going from Spurs to Crystal Palace, so I'm sure he's going to get a lot of stick the next time he goes back to Tottenham to play at White Hart Lane.
McLaughlin picks it up right outside the 18, over to Cummings. Cummings with a right-footed shot finds Muhammad. Muhammad at point-blank range, and McCarthy makes the save. Alex McCarthy's done a nice job. He's been challenged 4 or 5 times now, and he's answered the bell every time.
I think Muhammad, again, does a great job of losing the center back. I think he watches and thinks it's offside. He steps in, and I actually think when he received it, he thought he was offside because he kind of delayed a little bit.
Cummings receives it, takes a right-footed shot that'll go just wide. Delaney was there defensively and actually deflected it. Corner kick will be brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey, the top Invisalign provider in the tri-state. You see McCarthy there doing a fantastic job. The 6'4" goalkeeper at 26 years of age. Short corner will be played to Luke. Muhammad just outside the 18 sends it in over the head of everybody and out along the end line.
I think the biggest player, that I've been most impressed with is Omar Cummings.
Right.
In the first half and even in the second half, he's doing a great job of kind of dropping deep in that pocket in front of the centre back, receiving on his back foot and going forward and making things happen. He's getting shots off, through passes into Muhammad as well. So very, very impressed. He's shown up tonight. Obviously he's played at this level, playing in MLS and for Jamaica. So he's a guy that's definitely come out and shown and proven how good he is.
Cummings 42 goals during his Major League Soccer career. Of course, he played here at the University of Cincinnati for Hilton Days on the men's program for 2 years. After 2 years at Cincinnati State, Crystal Palace pushing to the offensive third, sends it across the mouth of the goal past Dallas J. Will roll out on the near side touchline. Townsend will come over quickly, throw it in. Andros Townsend got away from Jimmy McLaughlin, couldn't get a shot off. And now back to Joel Ward. Townsend slides it into the 18, shot by Ladapo, is deflected out, and a corner kick coming up for Palace. Last year in the Premiership, Crystal Palace 11 wins, 18 losses, and 9 draws, finishing 15th place. But of course, they made that great run to the FA Cup final where they fell to Man U by a final tally of 2-1. Townsend will send it in on the corner kick. Shot from Ladapo. He got it right on his foot. Very much as it was drawn up, but couldn't get off a good look.
You talk about quality. What a service that is into the back row. I mean, that's what he can do.
See Dallas J there. Danville, California native, a member of the Guam national team. And there are some Cincinnatians who are excited to see Dallas playing. He played his senior season at Xavier University. It was interesting. I was talking to some of the folks at Xavier. They said at times it was hard during the season. In 2015, when he was playing that year, because he got called up to the Guam national team, the senior national team, to go play a World Cup qualifier. So what's he doing? Well, you're not going to tell your starting goalkeeper he can't go play for his national team.
Right.
But then you don't have your starting goalkeeper in some key conference matches. And Xavier didn't have his strong of a season in 2015 as maybe in a couple of the previous seasons, and certainly arguable to say that they may have if Dallas had been there more often.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Obviously, for a college program, that's tough with your starter going and playing for international, but
it's also a great story for your program.
Fantastic, exactly. It's great recruiting too. You've got a starting national team goalkeeper coming and playing at your program, so I'm sure Xavier will be bouncing back next year, I'm sure.
Francisco Narbonne will play it back to Evan Lee. You can feel the buzz and the excitement here at Nippert Stadium. 35,061 expected to be the final attendance number when it is announced here in the second half. But there's certainly been noise and just a feeling of excitement for the soccer community all night long here at Nippert. Austin Berry putting his right foot on it. We expect Austin Berry, who started tonight, first time he has started since his injury back in late April. This is the first time he has started, and we expect him to play about 60 minutes, so his time is probably coming to an end. A handful of subs getting ready to come into the match for FC Cincinnati. And if you're just joining us, John Hark said he's playing everybody tonight, and he mentioned it with Lindsay at halftime. This is a celebration for the sport of soccer in Cincinnati, so he wants every guy in his team to be able to say they played against an EPL side. Eric Stevenson trying to get it forward. Meanwhile, James Punchin is with Alan Pardue. He may be checking in shortly. Of course, he had the goal that got his manager to dance in the FA Cup final. Great job with the TIFO pregame by the folks in the supporter section. They had John Harks and Alan Pardue painted out on it with "Dance, Dance, Dance" across it. And we saw a few of the injured Crystal Palace guys over to our right, 2 booths down. They got a good laugh out of that. So well done by the supporter groups here at Nippert Stadium tonight.
It's pretty funny.
Scott Dan, one of the second half substitutions for Pardue. Going to play it forward. Saved along the end line in the direction of Ladapo, but he can't pick it up. Omar Mohammed can't get to it for FC Cincinnati. 57th minute, 1-0 in favor of Palace. Mohammed in the defensive third, trying to turn it forward to Cummings. Comes off his chest. I'd imagine Omar Cummings is coming out shortly as well. Mohammed going to tap it forward. James Punchin and Luke Kroll both at midfield now, set to check in at the next opportunity. Punchin 31 appearances in the Premiership last season, scored twice. Great run down the far side into the box. Sent into the middle onto the foot of Townsend. Aaron Townsend with the right foot, deflected by Luke. Good job defensively by FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, and Zaha again, he's starting the second half pretty strong. He's got that space. He's so smooth to change direction. That's the biggest thing. It's kind of deceiving for a defender when you go to pressure him. You think you've got him going left or right, and he kind of goes the opposite. So it's tough. Townsend, I think you'll see him too. He's going to take up positions, kind of wide, but you'll see him drift in the middle and get underneath their target as well, and that's going to cause some problems in between the space, I think.
The substitution is brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey, the top Invisalign provider in the tri-state. Here they come. Joe Ward will check out. Jason Punchin in. That's a player that I feel a lot of people in the Cincinnati soccer community are excited to see get into the match. And then Luke Kroll will check in, a defender as well. He joined Crystal Palace's academy team at the young age of 9, first called up to the first team in 2014. So a pair of substitutions, and Alan Pardue mixing things up here in the second half for his club as he continues to evaluate and get ready for the EPL season, which will start in about 4 weeks. Damian Delaney checks out. You heard his name quite a bit. Antoine Hopino comes out to midfield. He will come on at the next whistle for FC Cincinnati. Pat McMahon making a run. Try to play it forward for Cummings. A touch too strong. And McCarthy's able to come over and scoop it up along the edge of the 18. Chung Young Lee will get it across midfield. Luke breaks it up. Now Luke, with the South Korean national all over his back, regains control.
Does well, actually, to win that back and get possession back to White. Ross maybe try to change the point of attack here and go the opposite direction. It's tough, but the pressure we talked about, that athleticism with Crystal Palace straight away when they're getting it, 3 players on them, in transition. They're wanting back in that middle third with that attacking third.
A whole slew of substitutions now coming for John Harkes. Jimmy McLaughlin will take a seat. Antoine Hopino in. Mike Malay in. His first appearance in an FC Cincinnati jersey. And then another Cincinnati native, and he'll get a big round of applause. Number 7 in white, Luke Spencer, another Xavier product. 2 Xavier products on this roster. How about this for irony? Who's he going to replace? The Big Cat. So Bearcat out and a Musketeer in the 61st minute.
Yeah, and Luke's going to love this. Obviously a hometown player from Cincinnati, grew up playing in the youth system. Obviously played at Xavier University as well. So this is a special moment for him, I'm sure.
Luke Spencer, 5 appearances this year, 36 minutes, hasn't been used a whole lot in regular season action, but also in a tough spot as a forward when you have strikers already on the roster, and Antoine Hopino draws a foul just outside the 18.
I'm a big fan of Luke too. I mean, I think he's got a ton still to offer. Obviously with these important games coming up, it just depends. As you said, it's tough, but you've got Omar Cummings and Sean Okoli. I mean, they're players that are in form right now. I think with Luke, I think he just needs to get an opportunity and build some confidence back. But he's definitely got a skill set that's unique. He does well using his body, plays very well back to goal.
Well, here's a great opportunity for FC Cincinnati. Almost identical to their 2 free kicks in the first half at the other end of the pitch. Antoine Hopino appears as though he's going to take it. Hopino swinging it into the box, looking for a header. Malay was there, as was Evan Lee. Neither got a piece of it. And it'll actually be a goal kick. Deflected away by Crystal Palace.
Yeah, good service in. I think Doug Malay tries to get up, tries to win that ball, but good
Luke
delivery.
Kroll got his head onto it, yeah. So corner kick will come from the far side. Here comes Jamie Dell into the match for FC Cincinnati. Another substitution brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey. And he replaces Pat McMahon. Ross Tomaselli going to let it fly, deflected by Crystal Palace. And Dell, fresh onto the pitch, has to run over and track it down, then sends it forward. Nobody there. Certainly appreciate everybody joining us tonight, whether it's on Star 64, on ESPN 1530, 35,000 of our friends who have joined us here at Nippert Stadium, and then our match also streaming worldwide via Crystal Palace's website. So we hope that everybody on the other side of the pond who stayed up with us tonight is enjoying the broadcast. It's coming up on about 1:30 a.m. in England. Great ball for Zaha inside the 18. Gets around Mohammed, takes a shot, and a pretty goal from Wilfred Zaha to make it 2-0 Crystal Palace.
Yeah, great bit of skill, kind of roll over, beats his man. Great finish with his left foot into the bottom corner. Again, not much that Dallas could have done about that. Commits it, defender.
Now, once he got past Omar Mohammed.
And look at the strike. I mean, that's probably 20 yards away, but driven ball into the bottom corner, it's tough.
So Dallas J coming on for Mitch Hildebrandt, gives up a goal in the 63rd minute. 2-0 Crystal Palace. And FC Cincinnati. They knew coming in it would be a tall challenge today, and I think right now, and it's, the result doesn't really matter. This is, again, like John Harkes said, a celebration for the sport here in the city, but getting a goal would make it that much more special.
Absolutely. I think, listen, credit to FC Cincinnati. I think their performance has been good. They're playing a team that's multiple levels above them, and they've shown that they've got talent. They've shown that they've got character and they can move the ball. I think that the attitude's been fantastic from them.
Corner kick coming, brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey. Sent into the box, headed away by Crystal Palace. And Hopino collecting it. Townsend breaks it up. Antoine Hopino had some fun during Euros, huh? Watching his hometown France until the championship match.
It was a tough final.
Luke trying to keep it alive along the touchline, cannot. And John Harkes has already gone to the bench extensively. We expect in about the 75th minute or so that he will go to his third goalkeeper, Dan Williams. That will be his debut in an FC Cincinnati uniform. Ball comes back to Dallas J. And then it is sent out right at midfield. You know, we have not seen Corbin Bone today.
Yeah.
We just an opportunity to rest Corbin. And there's the official attendance number. We heard it from Jeff Birding at the event last night, but 35,061, the official attendance number tonight. The largest crowd to watch soccer in the state of Ohio ever.
Unbelievable. In a first-year franchise, it's really hard to believe.
Well, that's where I was going next. We have a clash tonight. One of these clubs has 111 years of experience.
Right.
The other one is getting their first year of experience right now in the middle of a season in which they're in third place in their conference.
Yeah, what FC Cincinnati have been able to do in this year, and it's credit to the fans, you know. They've come out, it's been fantastic. The front office staff, obviously the coaching, and the players have done a great job getting the results and putting a great product on the field. And the support from the communities, it's been great. So, big credit to them.
Aaron Townsend brings it in off the short corner. Andros Townsend signed 15 days ago. Chung Young Lee. And now to Much, who right now has the game-winning goal, came in the 8th minute. Evan Lee able to clear it. Wilfred Zaha, however, tracks it down really before it escapes the offensive third by too much.
I think Crystal Palace here is just going to try to control the game a little bit, slow it down, speed it up, change the tempo.
Zaha looking for Ladapo. Ladapo has it knocked away, and as Crystal Palace sets up for the corner kick, let's go down to Lindsey Patterson.
Yeah, guys, they just put that number up on the Jumbotron, the attendance sellout number tonight. I want to kind of compare that to the other attendance numbers we've had here at Nippert Stadium. 23,375 in the Pittsburgh match, 20,497 against Louisville. A couple of those matches, we had bad weather nights too. We've had 19,000, a little over 17,000. Those are top matches, almost doubling that here tonight.
No question, the fans have showed up in a big way, and I expect that we will see them back here Wednesday night for New York Red Bulls 2 and for Louisville City. Louisville City tracking to be possibly another record crowd. If the weather cooperates, I would imagine that one could get up over 20,000, no question.
Yeah, there's a percentage obviously of you know, loyal fans that have been here from kind of day one, but great opportunity for new fans that have come in and watched this game. You know, the hope is obviously they come back. I mean, they've certainly been able to see a great game. Fantastic atmosphere. So this is only, again, you know, great stuff for the franchise to keep building numbers and support.
Ross Tomaselli looking for the build-up at midfield. Chung Young Lee eventually tracks him down. Luke trying to feed it to Spencer. Flag went up. Offside is the call. So a free kick coming up for Crystal Palace. They have one more match remaining on this North American tour. They will fly tomorrow afternoon up to the Great Northwest, where they'll take on the Vancouver Whitecaps on Tuesday and then return home to South London on Wednesday. And they drew with Philadelphia 0-0 this past Wednesday in the city of brotherly love.
Be interesting to see if Crystal Palace make any more subs. You know, if they're going to get some more guys in, and obviously they've got that game. But big thing with the Premiership teams, they're going to manage minutes a lot on the road, try to avoid injuries or fatigue.
How about this run right here?
Yeah.
Andros Townsend bringing it all the way up to the top of the 18. Feeds it over to his left, Zaha. Zaha has it poked away. Jamie Dell was there defensively. Zaha was set to throw it in. Wilfred Zaha scored 2 goals in 6 FA Cup matches.
Great touch.
He's another Crystal Palace Academy product.
Yeah.
Big right-footed shot there from Townsend. Sails wide of Dallas J. No danger for FC Cincinnati. We are into the 70th minute. And here's your answer to your question you asked moments ago. What's Alan Pardue going to do? Well, he'll tee up a couple more guys.
Yeah.
Soleil Kai, a 20-year-old that they're very excited about, and Jacob Berkeley, who's on their developmental roster but came on the trip. And wearing the number 23 of Pap Soiree. Those two will check in at the next opportunity. And they'll get a chance to run out for 20 minutes. Francisco Narbonne trying to send it over to Antoine Hopino. Didn't get there much. Intercepted it. Of course, Mark Bright, part of the organization for Crystal Palace. He's on the trip. He's an ambassador. Had an outstanding career in the English Premier League. Played for Crystal Palace. Also played for Sheffield Wednesday when they were in the Premiership. And was a teammate of John Harkes.
Yeah. No, it was, you know, we came to watch them practice on Friday, and I couldn't believe it. He was just standing there. For me, it's a guy watching him play up front with another guy called Ian Wright for Crystal Palace back in the day. That strike force was unbelievable. So seeing Mark Wright here was, you know, for me, that was great to see. So.
I think there was a lot of thrills for soccer fanatics over the last 48 to 72 hours when you have the likes of Alan Pardue, Mark Bright, Andros Townsend, Yannick Bolasie, who's not dressed today, but he is on the trip. He flew in on Thursday, hasn't been, or flew in Thursday afternoon from England, hasn't been training, however, so they didn't want to put him out there tonight. Malay Jidnak, as I mentioned, captain of the Australian national team, also captain of this club. Francisco Narbonne got it forward for Jamie Dell. Here's Zaha into the offensive third. Took Jamie Dell down in the process. The two of them got tangled up. Zaha in a heap of pain. The foul's going to be on Dell. We'll have the opportunity to see it again, but sure looked like
he does really well, kind of drawing him in,
right?
and this is, you talk about experience using his body.
Yeah. He hooked him a little bit, right?
He did, for sure. You know, he sells the foul too, and really, I think he puts him back at the start.
Wilfred Zaha slow to his feet, and Jamie Dell making sure that he's okay. Oh, there is Mark Bright, speaking of the devil, right in the booth to our left. Overseeing things. Probably making sure that Wilfred Zaha is okay. Aaron Townsend will go over to take the free kick in the 73rd minute. I haven't seen any bookings. This isn't the type of match that you would hope to see any either way. It's a friendly. You hope that the cards will stay in the pocket of the match official. Blai Kai into the match. A midfielder out of England. Parents are from Sierra Leone. 20 years old. He started in Philadelphia on Wednesday, so get a little bit of a different look coming off the bench today. On the free kick by Townsend, it's booted away by FC Cincinnati. Now Hiram Boateng.
You've noticed there just how possessions kind of changed. It's Mohamed's done a good job of kind of.
See, Mohamed can use some of his speed, trying to get by Zeke Friars. Into the offensive third. Now what's he going to do? Fryer.
No, he's not afraid. He's a very confident player. But just getting back to what I was saying there, you know, Crystal Palace had kind of changed and pressed and possessed in FC Cincinnati's half. And that kind of changed, you know, from the first half. Mohamed did a good job of kind of winning it back and countering and trying to, you know, attack that space in behind.
Luke fires it. It goes off the chest of Boateng. So corner kick with Antoine Hopino taking it onto the near side. The corner kick is, of course, brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey, the top Invisalign provider in the tri-state. Near side to our left. FC Cincinnati trailing 2-0. Hopino swinging it in with his right foot. A bit long, trying to get it to Evan Lee. Tried to flick it on and keep it alive. Couldn't do much with it as Luke Kroll was there defensively.
It's a few times FC Cincinnati kind of overhit, you know, on those corner kicks. Kind of played it into the back post. Maybe if they kind of change the service up and maybe make this goalkeeper come off his line a bit, you know, try to hit maybe that near post. or even outside of the 6 to kind of engage him.
It appears as though Alan Pardue is going to switch his goalkeepers here late. We expect John Harkes to do the same. Clayton Pertreo is the 3rd goalkeeper on this trip. Julian Speroni, who is a fan favorite back in London, he played all 90 minutes on Wednesday, so it doesn't appear as though he will play today. I'll tell you what, Wilfred Zaha very gingerly walking towards Crystal Palace's bench. Hopefully he is okay. Luke playing it forward. Hopino tracks it down, sends it into the middle, nobody there. McCarthy able to snatch it up without any trouble.
I think not a bad idea. Spencer just reads that, makes that near post strong. It turns into a good opportunity for them then.
Dan Williams is set to make his FC Cincinnati debut. He's come out to midfield, as has Pertreo. So a pair of goalkeeper changes coming up. Well, let's see which one signals in first. There it'll be Dallas J coming out for Dan Williams. And now Alex McCarthy coming out. And Clayton Pertreo coming in for Palace. John Harkes said everybody would get the chance to get in, and he has proven it here tonight. Certainly a thrill for the fans, but a thrill for his entire 25-man roster as well.
Exactly. Great to see that. You know, these guys have been excited over the last 2 months. Obviously, the big name, and you saw the excitement and even the energy this week of practice too. So great of John to get this opportunity for these guys, and once in a lifetime chance.
Yeah, absolutely, and also gives a chance for some rest for other guys.
Right.
Andros Townsend taking a shot, and Dan Williams with a big save on the legend. How about that? Right into the match, and you got Andros Townsend firing a shot at you.
Talk about first play. Yeah, absolutely. Cuts in, does really well on his left foot. Great reaction saved by Williams. So I'll do him the world of good with his confidence.
Corner kick for Crystal Palace into the 18. Onto the chest of Berkeley. Berkeley trying to turn on it. FC Cincinnati was looking for a handball, didn't get it. Palace able to keep it alive. Sent across the middle. Williams diving, and he punches it away. Punchin picks it up, however. The 3rd goalkeeper out there for John Harkes, making some plays.
2 big saves
in the waning moments.
Yeah, not saves, again, not saves that you're expected to make. It's tough too. It's got to be hard for him coming in, the 75th minute.
And he looks up and he's looking at James Punchin and Andros Townsend.
Right, Crystal Palace are in possession. They're in, obviously in control of it, and getting those shots straight away. It's a way to deal with the pressure for sure.
When Mitch Hildebrandt makes a save, and first Berkeley making a run, Williams gets a piece of it and sends it wide. A corner kick coming up. Let's take a look. Dan Williams putting in work for FC Cincinnati.
Yeah, this comes back. I mean, he's got to make that too. That last one, I think it might have been going wide, but he's got to be safe. He's got to cover that far post.
Andros Townsend will get set to take the corner. Townsend joined Tottenham's academy program at the age of 8. 50 career appearances for that club. Here comes the corner, sails over Ladapo, and will be a goal kick coming up for Dan Williams. Dan Williams has been active. Now my question at this point, the supporter groups, when Mitch makes a save, Mitch says no as a chant, right? When Dallas J makes a save, Jay says nay. Have they figured one out for Dan Williams? And if not, they better be over there working quickly.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure.
I mean, he deserves one right now, right?
Big time. He's made the best saves of the game so far.
Right. Except for maybe Alex McCarthy. Did you hear something down there, Lindsay?
Tommy, how long have you been sitting on that one? That's all I want to know.
I'm just waiting. It's a great moment for everybody tonight, a celebration of soccer. In For those who couldn't make it out here to Nippert Stadium, obviously 35,000 did. If you didn't, I appreciate everybody else who joined us tonight on our various broadcast channels. Tom Glader alongside Kevin McCloskey, Lindsey Patterson doing a fantastic job down on the pitch. As always, the sun is setting. There will be fireworks here tonight. Once it gets nice and dark, they're going to shut off the lights, and an opportunity for many people to stick around and be a part of this celebration.
I think the city will be busy tonight. You know, obviously this game, I think the Reds are in town too. So.
Yes. I would imagine the area here in Clifton will be busy after the match. A lot of folks will head back downtown. Wouldn't be surprised if some of the guys like Crystal Palace go out to get a good meal afterwards.
Yeah.
Maybe rehydrate a little bit.
A little bit. Early night, but I'm sure, right?
Ball played across the middle. Ladapo picks it up. Dropped off for Kai, who takes a big shot. It goes wide. The 20-year-old midfielder couldn't put it on frame, but got a good look.
Yeah, just wasn't able to turn his hips and wrap his hips around that as a strike rate. I think that the tough part, obviously, these last 15-20 minutes, it's been tough for FC Cincinnati to get possession back.
Right.
And it's hard to defend the entire time. You know, anytime that you're defending for longer than 5-10 minutes, I mean, that's going to take it out of you physically and mentally as well. So hopefully you can get possession back here and maybe lead to a chance or an opportunity.
Francisco Narbonne is fouled at midfield.
To be honest, here I'd slow down a little bit, right? I don't want to play quickly, just what I was talking about. Can he slow down? Can he get some numbers forward? Change the shape a little bit in the attacking half and then possess.
The speed of this match is striking.
Got to keep the ball. Great ball.
On the right side, Jamie Dell sending it across, looking for Luke, deflected. And a flick forward by Townsend. He draws traffic. No foul is called. Tomaselli just misses his target. Alvaro Anton Ripoll, the midfielder out of Madrid, Spain, making his FC Cincinnati debut.
Nice bit of play there.
Michael Malay can't pick it up in midfield, and then a foul is called. Brandon Artis, the match official. Points in favor of Crystal Palace. 83rd minute, 2-0 Crystal Palace. No matter how the final, let's say 10 minutes with stoppage time goes, a very respectable effort by FC Cincinnati here tonight.
I think, you know, the first half, I think they were in it. You know, they went from end to end. I think the first probably 10, 15 minutes of the second half, they came out, as I said, but, you know, that quality, that athleticism, it's just going to change the game. And the longer you go, that's going to be the difference, you know. And you've kind of seen that the last 20 minutes of this game.
Dan Williams will bring it back into play for FC Cincinnati. I mentioned this is the largest soccer crowd ever in the state of Ohio. 29,745 were in Cleveland for the U.S. men's national team against Venezuela in 2006. That's the previous record for the Buckeye State. Luke Spencer crossing midfield. The Cincinnati native trying to make something happen, and he draws a foul just outside the 18. Free kick coming up. Maybe this is the opportunity to put one in.
Yeah. Luke takes that opportunity well. You know, he's got about 10, 15 yards of space. Gets into a gallop, commits his defender, you know, draws that foul. So hopefully here, again, can they get something from it? Can they get a bit of end product?
I believe there was a booking on the foul.
He booked him for a professional foul, maybe. Intent. Obviously, I think Luke was probably going past him. Yeah, gets his space.
Scott Dan got a piece of him.
Probably a smart shot, you know. He's going to get in behind. Does well to use his body to get across it.
Tomaselli Hopano standing over it. John Harks is signaling who he wants to take it. It looks like it's going to be Derek Luke. Maybe. Yeah, Derek Luke's stepping it off right now. See what he does. Luke with his left foot takes a shot and a save. Clayton Pertreo makes a diving save to his right And Derek Luke, the New Jersey native, nearly put it in.
Yeah, great strike. Bends it as well. Almost beats him at that front post. Keeper collects it, but good strike from Luke.
Clayton Pertreo, the third goalkeeper for Crystal Palace, makes a big save. Tell you what, it's been a story of the third goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Here in the final 15 minutes, Dan Williams with 3 big saves for FC Cincinnati. And the native of Greece coming up big for Crystal Palace as they maintain the clean sheet in the 85th minute. Punchin gonna play it out wide. Zeke Friars will pick it up. He started and has played the entire match. Michael Millay played it forward. He's another University of Cincinnati product. So 2 Bearcats, 2 Musketeers on the roster for John Harkes. You can hear the singing and the chants continuing. The score right now, I don't think has affected the ability for anybody here to have a good time.
No, not at all. I think Ross Tomaselli is actually carrying an injury a little bit. Looks like he's hobbling. He's not recovered from that collision earlier.
Hobbling a little bit across midfield.
He's definitely going to try to run it off. I mean, he doesn't want to come out, you know. Looks like he's in a good amount of pain though.
Jordan Much, who scored the go-ahead goal in the 8th minute, plays it back to his goalkeeper. Did you see one of the athletic trainers for Crystal Palace bring out a walking boot? You really hope that's not for Wilfred Zaha, who we saw take a knock about 15 minutes ago.
Maybe just a precaution.
Yeah, certainly don't want to come home with anything serious, so they may put him in it just to be safe.
Yeah.
Francisco Narbonne will play it out wide. Now forward in the direction of Hopino, but he can't quite catch up with it. Again, a huge week coming up for FC Cincinnati. Wednesday night here at home, 7 p.m. Tickets still available. New York Red Bulls will be here at Nippert Stadium. And then Saturday, 4 p.m., folks. Make sure you mark it down. 4 p.m. is the start. Next Saturday against Louisville City, who's currently in first place in the Eastern Conference. Of course, Red Bulls 2 are in second place. And then they follow that up with 2 weeks from tonight with Charleston Battery coming in, a team that they lost to 1-0 to start the regular season. And they're in 4th place.
Yeah.
So 3 huge challenges coming up. You knew that John Harkes was going to manage the minutes here.
But for the most part, it looks like, you know, they're going to come out of the game kind of injury-free. I'm hoping Ross is okay here, but huge games. You know, you talk about Red Bulls, which a lot of people, including John, probably one of the stronger teams in the league of how they play.
They have one of the best goalkeepers in the league.
Maybe not result-wise, but he talked about obviously their MLS team dropping some of their players down on regular occasions to play on this team. So that's going to be a test on Wednesday, and then obviously Saturday. Aside the fact that Louisville are a very strong team, it's a rivalry game too.
3rd matchup this season with Louisville City. Of course, a loss here back on April 16th in their first meeting, then a draw on June 25th. In the match down at Louisville Slugger Field. The regular season finale coming up a week from today, 4 o'clock start. We'll have that match for you on CCW and ESPN 1530. Ross Tomaselli has come off, and he is being stretched by Aaron Powell, the trainer for FC Cincinnati. Sitting into the box, Luke Spencer, the big target right there in the middle. They're trying to get it to him. Corner kick coming up as it goes wide, deflected by Palace.
I think Derek Luke's done a good job of actually coming in, and he's got quality service with that left foot. You saw with the free kick earlier, obviously that set piece as well. So been impressed with him. He's done well since coming in the second half.
Opino was thinking about going short. Instead, he'll send it across the middle. Alvaro Anton Rapol was looking to get his head onto it, could not. Ross Tomaselli getting some treatment from the medical staff over on FC Cincinnati's bench, so certainly that is something that we'll keep an eye on. The last few matches, Tomaselli has been coming off the bench for John Harkes. As we've seen a few changes in the midfield. We went with a 4-4-2 last week against St. Louis in a 2-1 win. Omar Cummings into the starting lineup for just the second time this season, and it paid off for the Gaffer. A goal and an assist for number 14.
I think with what they have on the bench, they've got the ability to kind of change systems and formations, which at this level, at USL, at professional level, is huge.
2 minutes of stoppage time will be tacked on as we wrap up a spectacular night here in Cincinnati. Ball's deflected on the far side. A throw-in coming up for FC Cincinnati. Certainly is a night to remember for the fans and for the young men wearing orange and blue for FC Cincinnati tonight. Ripoll will pick it up right at midfield, taken down. And a foul is called, so Malay will put it back into play quickly. FC Cincinnati with Tomaselli out, now playing a man down. John Harkes has exhausted his entire bench. I'm sure that Alan Pardue would let him put another guy back in, but that wasn't the plan. So I'd imagine many of the subs are icing at this point, have their boots off. They haven't been moving around, so you don't want to risk further injury by putting somebody back in who hasn't been staying warm.
Especially at the 90-minute mark.
Great ball across the middle. Hopino couldn't quite turn on it. Bertreo, who was challenged late, plays it out of the box. Crystal Palace probably content now just holding it in the midfield and allowing these winning moments to run down. The Bailey has been on their feet, chanting and singing throughout. It has been a great sight here in Cincinnati for the game as football, as they call it, come from back home in England, where Crystal Palace comes from. Soccer, as they call it here in the States.
I think the fans that I'm hoping they've left with a good appreciation, obviously the ability that these guys have. We talked about it before. Technically and physically, they're players above, kind of what you see domestically. So they're walking away happy, I'm sure.
Absolutely. And 2 world-class goals tonight, no question, for Crystal Palace. And a nice round of applause for both of these clubs as the match comes to an end. Dan Williams did a fantastic job coming off the bench. John Harkes and Alan Pardue getting a chance to shake hands. We will hear from John Harkes here momentarily as the clubs will exchange hugs and handshakes across the pitch. Let's go down to the pitch where Lindsay is with John Harkes.
Coach, you told me at the half this wasn't about winning, it was a celebration for the city. Over 35,000 showed up here tonight in sellout fashion. Was tonight a night where you could just sit back and kind of enjoy the atmosphere, and what an overall experience for your guys?
Well, I think you've seen me on the sideline enough. Yeah, we want to enjoy it, for sure. We're looking at the lessons that need to be learned when you play against a high caliber team like this, and to be fair, I enjoyed it a lot. I thought the boys did very well. When you compete against a Premier League team, there's so many different challenges there, but on the occasion itself, for the city, for our fans, for our ownership group, for Cincinnati, it's absolutely unbelievable. This is incredible.
Thanks so much, Coach.
Everybody wins.
That's put pretty well by John Harkes. Everybody wins here tonight at Nippert Stadium. Tonight's man of the match is brought to you by Tire Discounts, the home of free alignment. And the man of the match is Dan Williams, the 3rd goalkeeper in for FC Cincinnati. And Kevin, he came in and made 3 saves.
Big time save, coming up straight in. I think probably 30 seconds into it makes that big save. And then about a minute later comes, does very well with that. Coming out of his 6 to clear. And then this last one obviously just kind of covers the space and knocks a pass for a corner.
You see the big smile on the face of Dan Williams. He had fun out there for 15 minutes. We're going to step aside and wrap things up when we return to Nippert Stadium. Your final score: Crystal Palace FC 2, FC Cincinnati 0. Some highlights and we say goodbye when we return. This is FC Cincinnati Soccer. Crystal Palace and FC Cincinnati. As John Hark said moments ago, everybody wins, and that certainly was the case with 35,061. Tonight's post-match highlights are brought to you by Gruel and Dempsey, the top Invisalign provider in the tri-state. Plenty of highlights throughout this one, Kevin, as we take a look, and opportunities early on for both clubs.
Yeah, no, they Crystal Palace got into the box earlier and shown their kind of size and strength. This is a great strike by Much, 25, 30 yards out into the top corner. As soon as that goes in, but FC Cincinnati comes straight back at them. You know, they try to counter-attack and try to get back into the game. But you know, we talked about quality, right? This is Zaha cutting inside, great left foot strike into the bottom right-hand corner. That shows you his ability at this level. Great save here from Dan Williams coming in from Andros Townsend. Coming out of the game brave, you know, and we talked about that. That's so hard to do. Coming in 5 minutes and you're tested 3 times in a row. So all credit to Dan, he got man of the match, but certainly deserved it.
So Dan Williams off the bench comes in, makes some big saves. You see the Crystal Palace fans celebrating right now. Tonight's moment of the match is brought to you by Mad Tree Brewing Company, Cincinnati's hometown brewery and proud sponsor of FC Cincinnati. And the moment of the match, well, I think the pageantry and the fan support here tonight chills when you see that number, 35,061, the pre-match march. All of it tonight was special in Cincinnati.
Special, electric, you know, every other descriptive word you want to use. It was just awesome. I think that's the best word to describe it. From probably 90 minutes before the game too, fans were coming in, and they certainly walked home, I think, enjoying the experience.
Yeah, certainly we saw it down. We went to the pitch 90 minutes out, and the fans were lined up at the gates waiting to get in at 5:30. Kevin, this was special for everybody. It was special for us. Certainly had a great time tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Tommy.
I will see you on Wednesday night when we'll do it again as FC Cincinnati gets back into USL play. Once again, our final score from Nippert Stadium, Crystal Palace 2, FC Cincinnati 0. Our next broadcast comes your way Wednesday when FC Cincinnati hosts New York Red Bulls 2. The action begins at 7 p.m. For sideline reporter Lindsey Patterson, my broadcast partner Kevin McCloskey, our producer David Ashbrook, and production manager Mike Bacon, I'm Tom Glitter saying so long and good night from a special night at Nippert Stadium.